Hi, everyone, and welcome to Revenue Rescue. As always, this monthly webinar series is brought to you by the team here at Affinitiv. For those of you just getting to know us, we provide marketing and software solutions to over 5,000 dealerships nationwide, working with every major manufacturer in the country. And we're excited to take some time to share a bit of the knowledge and insights we've gained through our experiences. So each month, our Revenue Rescue webisode will feature a new topic addressing common challenges within your dealership that may be leaving revenue on the table. All past recordings, in case you missed them, are available on our website with topics covering everything from social media to service lane software, campaign planning, to conquest audiences, and more. In the end, our goal is really to guide you through solution and strategy ideas to help you make the best decisions possible for your business. So today, Courtney Evans, Affinitiv's Vice President of Product Marketing, is going to continue the conversation about modernizing the owner retention program. She'll talk about the strategy behind ORP, from communication channel selection to audience segmentation. Every decision you make adds a piece to the full puzzle. And with that, I'll turn it over to Courtney.
Thanks for the introduction, Anne, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. Today, I want to continue the conversation on a topic we started last month and will continue to discuss for the next couple of months to come. We hope that after today, you will have even more insight into a product many of you have probably already been using, your owner retention program, or what I like to refer to as the backbone to all of your other marketing efforts, and the items that touch on every marketing strategy out there. For those of you who didn't join us last time, or for those who need a simple refresher, let's do a quick recap of what we discussed last month. Last month, we discussed the importance of one of the longest-standing products in the after-sales marketing world, the owner retention program. While this product has many different names and many different nuances to it, depending on the OEM or the provider you use, it still stands as one of the most important products that you can possibly bring into your dealership, one with significant recurrent ROI, and also one that you don't need anything else to use. It's easy to put in place, and it's also very easy to even forget it's running in the background. Some of you might have one that was put in place by someone that is no longer with the dealership, and it hasn't been touched since. Last month, we discussed some overall strategies to apply to your program to bring it up to speed with the current market conditions. We talked more about the overall strategy of the product and things to consider when making this the backbone to all of your dealership marketing. Topics like ROI, first retention and loyalty scores, taking on an omni-channel approach, and why owner retention programs need to be segmented and personalized were just a few things that we covered. In short, I explained why we need to rethink how we look at a product that many of you signed up for 10 or more years ago and apply these. Apply these strategies to meet today's market. I've seen some dealerships using the same strategies, the same communications, and the same offers for the past 10 years. And that is just not going to cut it in today's world. We need to be forward-thinking and geared towards the consumer or the customer rather than the vehicle, which most of these programs are geared towards marketing to the vehicle. As we continue down this path, I hope to dive into more details about the strategy of the program, the communications that are within it, and how it relates to other products that you are currently using within your marketing strategy. So with that, let's continue the conversation on owner retention program. Talking about current market and society trends, I think it is important to bring some light to these and how important the consumer, who actually is the one that's going to take a particular action or perform a task, is so important to consider when we are developing any marketing strategy. For me, even working in marketing and understanding how it works, I still make the most of my decisions based on the experience, the customer service, and how focused the marketing is to me as an individual, not an everyday consumer. Those are things I think about every time that I make a decision. Millennials are the new entity in the market and need to be considered as they start to become a dominant factor in our sales. As of 2019, this year, they have officially surpassed the baby boomers generation and account for the larger share in the market share, depending on the brand or region. 21% of them are willing to spend more to receive great service, which makes sense coming from a generation where most things were within arm's reach to learn, understand, or consume. The fact that 91% of consumers actually reward companies or brands for authenticity makes perfect sense to me. Think about the last time you jumped on Yelp to find a restaurant or either disregarded a negative review thinking it was somewhat one-sided, or disregarded a brand because you could tell that they paid for some of their positive reviews. People like to feel that a company or experience is authentic and not chalked up to some hidden agenda. Even when a bad experience happens, because we all know it is going to happen, there's a chance to make it a positive one and build your brand around that and how you resolve that issue. Did you know 80% of companies are spending less than 30% of their time and budget on retention? So that means that 70% is going to new sales. As mentioned before, it's cheaper to keep her, and those retained customers can do a lot of free marketing for you. They're the ones that are going to get the word out there that they had a great experience. So it makes it baffling to me that this statistic is still standing, and we don't have more visibility on, how we need to change this. And going back to the millennial statistic, I'm thinking about a generation that had information at arm's reach. That meant that they needed in that moment. You can completely understand that about 41% of consumers so that they would rather go in another direction if a company fails to personalize the experience to them specifically. It's all about having a voice to the consumer rather than an audience. And a lot of our marketing, we can do that, with some simple segmentation and make it seem like it's going to an individual and not an audience. So after hearing those statistics on the previous slide, I'm sure many of you are thinking, wow, the strategy I've been using for years with any sort of retention program or overall marketing strategy is just not going to work like it used to. And I'm here to explain how we can change that with a few minor tweaks and a new way of approaching the overall product. The first step is really rethinking the product from a strategic market perspective. Think about what you have in place now, or maybe take a look and think about what your goals for the dealership. What do you want to see? What don't you have in place, or what is your current program not doing for you? Where would you like to see better results? These questions can always invoke change with your retention program and lead you to where to make changes in your program. That is the great thing about a retention product. It really does cover any customer that you have within your DMS and can speak to them during any point in the vehicle process, whether that be sales or service to sales, anything in between. So now you're ready to look at your program and invoke not only change, but also see results. Where do you start? Let's look at some basic things. First of all, if before this exercise, you need to review your retention program because you either have not made changes in several months or possibly years, you found problem number one. Historically, retention programs have been marketed or sold to as a set it and forget it type mentality product, meaning they need little to no maintenance. What you are doing today may have worked in the past for a service manager before you or possibly even before them. And trust me, you're not alone if you haven't been making changes. I've dealt with hundreds of dealers across the country that have no insight into what marketing is actually going out the door for their dealership. And while this may have worked in the past, it needs to change as soon as possible. Your retention program is recurring campaigns that go out and speak to your brand, the care and support you give your customers in their vehicles, as well as serve to drive customers in during certain times. Does your dealership always run the same offers, or do they change to reflect the business that you were trying to drive at that time, or the items that you may be trying to get off the shelf? Your retention program is a great way to promote these and also create a feeling of personalization with your customer so that they do not see the same service reminder every 6 months when they come due for service. If you are experiencing slow spot in service, maybe it's time to change your offers to provoke more people to come in, something a little bit more incentivizing. Or even better, maybe it's time to do a little test and see if, a bifold may get more customers in the door rather than the standard letter that's within an envelope and takes more action to be read. Another area to look into is putting in place any caps on the program. Are you doing that? While this may sound like a smart way to start a program and, to adjust a new marketing budget, it is, but it's not a practice that should be maintained long term. By putting a cap on a retention program, you are essentially telling some customers that they are not as important and do not warrant a communication. There are plenty of areas within your marketing where you can put a cap. Conquest, channels, digital, but your retention program is not one of them because the customers have already performed the most difficult task in any marketing effort. They've responded and they've become a customer rather than an average consumer. They deserve some of your marketing spend. Limit the number of communications. Don't limit the amount spent on the ones you've chosen to send out. From there, we have even more recommendations on the overall strategy of your retention program. So first of all, this one I'm very guilty of. When I think retention programs, I first think of the strategy we put into the offers. But do offers actually drive a consumer in? How many actually bring the piece in with the offer? How many customers think, well, 10% is just sales tax and disregard? While offers are 100% necessary 10 years ago, today's world is not as price-driven, but rather experience-driven. Prices have become pretty flat with the rise of the internet. So how do we compete? This is where the messaging of your communications come in. The more work we do with audience segmentation, making the piece more personal, more geared towards the actual customer and not the vehicle, and invoke that feeling of trust and understanding, the more likely we are to have a repeat customer. Remember, 41% of consumers have ditched a company because they did not feel personal touch and messaging was played into the marketing. You want them to feel like they genuinely understand the needs that they have and that you are not just trying to pitch a service to make money, even if that is your true agenda. Another area is making sure that CSI and the clients have a high priority and are always on within your retention program. Declines might be a great way to warrant more business and start the conversation centered around safety and true understanding and that you care. The CSI will also give you the goods you need to improve that overall experience the customer has and enhance the things that you're already excelling in. It's constant feedback on how you are performing, and that's huge. It's also how you use that in the long run. And with this even being a Affinitiv branded webinar, if I can stress using an omni-channel approach, Different customers view marketing in different medias and different channels. The more we turn on all available channels, the more likely we are to hit all of our customers. For example, a lot of partners will stress email marketing. While email marketing is efficient and cheap and easy to deploy, it is also the easiest item for your customer to delete without even viewing it. Or what about the people who don't have an email or route all their emails to a spam account and never even look at it? This is why using various channels is so important in understanding how your customers consume information. So are you learning anything yet? I hope so, because we are just getting started and this is just the surface. We haven't even covered communication or marketing product strategy, which will come in the following webinars. But let's continue on this topic. I already hit on the idea that budgets for an owner retention program are a thing of the past. You need to determine your dealership's goals and then develop a retention program to fit those needs. You should be turning on communications that will help you see the results you need and let them run their course, rather than turn on all communications and put a budget in place. You can still hit a marketing budget without even putting a cap in place. It's all about what communications and channels are important to you. Remember that you are going to see ROI from this. So the marketing spend could, if you spend more, it could result in higher ROI. While we're on the topic, consolidating vendors who do your marketing will help with your overall budget as well as marketing goals. By having too many vendors or partners, you may be sending conflicting messaging and the timing could be all off. By enrolling in one retention program, you can ensure that the communications work with one another, not against. Remember, your retention program is the backbone to all other marketing, and all of your marketing should be based on the timing of which your retention communications are going out, as well as dealer events. Don't select a partner based on the OEM program or the amount of communications they offer. There's plenty of shiny pennies out there. Select a vendor that can help you achieve your personal goals and will consult you on the best approach rather than an approach that warrants more spend. While selecting an overall partner for your marketing, also make sure to ask them what data and analytics they're using and how this goes into your overall marketing strategy. Yes, your DMS is a wealth of data and is great. But in order to bring your program into the 21st century, we need to consider different audiences, different segmentation, and how best to communicate to your customers. Bringing in third-party data and also doing analysis on how your customers respond, or simple A/B testing, can make a world of difference in the ROI and the results that you see in your program. 5 to 10 years ago, ROI was the only number that mattered. And trust me, still important. But we also need to consider the feedback we get, the other numbers we see on reports, and most importantly, what are the next steps to improve and what's going to get you even further to your goals. And lastly, the other strategy that I have, the one that probably gets overlooked the most and is probably the easiest thing to update, is the creative. 55% of people spend 15 seconds or less reading the actual message. It's the creative that draws them in, conveys the point, and makes it something worth remembering. If it's a direct mail piece, it's that initial image or the bright colors that make a customer look twice, which, remember, can be hard to tell if it's hidden in an envelope. It could be a video within an email that uses the customer's model and vehicle, or maybe calls out their name. Or maybe it's just consistency, that they see an email, get a direct mail piece, and then see the same message and same creative within their social feed. Your creative will separate you from either memorable or forgettable. Try to make your communications as personal as possible to the customer. That includes the images, the headlines, and the messaging. People love seeing something that is personal to them. Also, make sure that you're thinking outside of the box. Sometimes you know your customers better than the CAN program for your brand or the marketing agency. Make sure you find a partner that will let you convey your brand and what works for you. There's different strategies depending on different regions and different, city versus rural. So we need to take all of that into consideration. Marketing providers should be doing A/B testing to find out what works best in your market. I know everything I shared with you is a lot, and it's definitely overwhelming, but we can break it down and make it real simple. First, evaluate what you have. Call your marketing provider and see what communications you are on and what channels you are using. The first step is engaging in the conversation and making sure your partner knows your marketing goals and is on the same page. From there, they will help you turn on communications and channels that will help you get to your goal and turn off others that may not be resulting in the ROI you want and maybe resulting in more marketing spend that could be going somewhere better. Talk marketing strategy rather than budget or cap. I strongly suggest starting there. Once you start seeing results, then it's time to start talking data sources, market segmentation, and A/B testing. Those things can be touched on later down the road, but keep them in mind. Time and mileage segments will continue to work, but we can start having some fun when we talk about incorporating more third-party data, segmenting our audiences to those who are more likely to respond. Which channel is a specific customer using, and which offers are going to draw that specific customer in? So like I mentioned, that's stage 2. Let's focus on what's already in place and what will get you to your goals. Once you've learned to keep your owner retention program at the heart of your marketing efforts and continuously update it, evolve, and renew, you'll be in a much better spot. And while I have a special spot in my heart for owner retention programs and normally prioritize them over all other products, I want to stress that any type of retention type marketing that you do, whether it's recurring or it's ad hoc or it's event related, is so important. Not only to your marketing strategy, but to your overall budget as well. Not only is it cheaper to retain a customer than acquire a new one, but happy customers will always be your best form of marketing. Hopefully you learned a little more about retention programs and I've sparked some questions in your mind about what you're doing. And the overall strategy that you have should always be kept in mind. Next month, we'll continue the conversation and take a deeper look into individual communication strategy and why not all communications can be treated the same. We have another one coming after that in the series that will touch on how your retention program is not a standalone product, but rather the backbone to all other marketing efforts and how it should be aligned with other tools and products you're using. If you missed last month or can't make a future webinar, remember you can always view them at affinitiv.com after they air. Our goal is to make these informational and convenient for you. I want to thank you for joining us this month and look forward to continuing the conversation next month. Please let us know if the Affinitiv team can assist before then, and have a great day.